Hi everyone, I hope you are all well. It's a bit of a dull day. Well, actually, I say that the sun has just started coming out. It's been a dull past couple of days here in the UK. We've had some rain where I live, which has been the first time in nearly 6 weeks we've had rain. It was actually really lovely to see. I know that sounds a bit weird, but that's just me. I like watching the rain. What else is going on? We've got 3 more weeks of lockdown. So here in the UK, so that's going to be interesting. I actually went to supermarket yesterday to do a big shop for the first time in 5 weeks, and so I had to go to a big supermarket, and that was interesting because the supermarket near where I live is actually quite a small one. So, and I've been sort of batch cooking, so I just been popping to shop to get like the little things I need, like some more fruit or something like that. But I haven't had to have a big shop. I've gone 5 weeks without doing one. So I had to go to the supermarket yesterday, a big supermarket, and that was interesting. That was my first experience, but all the staff were lovely and went like just when, because the first hour is for NHS staff, and when I arrived, it was about 10-15 minutes after that hour was up, and luckily there was no queue. It was quite quiet. Once I was done, that was when it was starting to get busy, so I think I hit the shop at the perfect time, which actually made me feel a bit easier, because it's silly to say, and I know it's silly, but then again it's not silly, that I felt a little bit kind of nervous because I didn't know what to expect, having gone 5 weeks without having to go into a big supermarket and everything during this time. But I did it. I survived it. All the staff were absolutely lovely. Everyone was very considerate of each other and everything. And yeah, it went okay. So I feel kind of more assured for when I have to do like next big shop, which yeah, we'll see how we go. But we've got 3 more weeks of lockdown. I've now been on my own for 5 weeks, because my office closed the week before the lockdown. So on Tuesday, it'll be 6 weeks I've been by myself. So yeah, I can't believe it, actually. It's gone really quickly. This week has flown by so quickly. But before I get onto my review, I just want to talk about some of the other things that I've been doing this week in regards to watching theatre, because I know I got various comments about last video I was talking about the theatre and such that I've been watching, and recommendations and such. And one, I'm so sorry, my head's blanked on the name of the person who it was, but they recommended the production of Hamlet from the Globe Theatre, because I sort of started watching that, but then I got distracted, so I had to turn away and I hadn't gone back to it. I watched it, really liked it. It was only about 2.5 or maybe 3 hours, so it is a bit of a shorter version of Hamlet, but they gender flipped various characters. They had one of the characters was actually played by a deaf actress, and so because of that, they had the actors in the rest of the cast signing their lines and such, and that was really great, because last year, or was it the year before now? Oh no, year before, I went to see Macbeth on my birthday at the RSC, and it was when Christopher Eccleston was playing Macbeth, and it just so happened that the one that I went to was a British Sign Language production that particular night they were doing that for, and it was so interesting and so electrifying. I loved it, and I was thinking, oh, they need to do more of that. They need to make it more regular, so people who are deaf can go to theatre and enjoy it. And the fact that this production, they incorporated it straight in, and it was going to be like that every single performance, that was wonderful. I really, really loved that. Very strong cast, I have to say. I was very impressed by it. I love gender bending characters and such throughout theatre. And talking of gender bending, in one, the National Theatre this week released Treasure Island, and they had various characters, including Jim, the Doctor, and various members of the crew, both the pirates and you know, our good guys as such, who aren't the pirates, female. And Jim, at the beginning, is reluctant to say if she's male or female, and then after a little bit of time, she declares herself as female, and from that point on, she's referred to as cabin girl and stuff like this. So it's just very natural. I loved that, and having the Doctor be a woman as well, a woman of power, of strong mind, of resilience and such, represented in a very male dominated story, was wonderful. So I loved the animatronics, the lighting, the set design was fantastic of Treasure Island. So those two I absolutely loved. For the Phantom of the Opera that they showed on Andrew Lloyd Webber's channel, I've actually got that on Blu-ray, so I didn't watch it because I've watched it like a million times. But the 25th anniversary concert for Phantom of the Opera, unfortunately here in the UK, because of copyright and such for the production company who put it on, it was only available for 24 hours here in the UK, so it's now off. But in the US, I think it's available until the end of today, which is Sunday. So if you're in the US, you can watch it there. I don't know about other countries, but here in the UK, definitely, it was 24 hours only. But it's a really, really, really good production as well. So I definitely recommend those. I really enjoyed those. And National Theatre, the next one is some Shakespeare with Tamsin Greig. I absolutely love her. She's such a good actress, and she's going to be in 12th Night. So I'm really, really excited to see that. I absolutely adore Shakespeare, as you know, and to have this kind of like modern, stylish version of 12th Night presented with her in it, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Oh yes, I forgot to say, the Globe Theatre this week, it's Romeo and Juliet. Again, I've got that upstairs on DVD, so I'm not gonna watch that, but I did like it. The one negative I would say about it is that the director has Romeo and other characters like running around on the lower level of the stage, because it uses for balconies and such. The balcony scene and other scenes, it uses the two levels of the Globe Theatre for that. But the director tended to have Romeo and other characters on the low level running all the time, and sometimes it was just like, can you please just stand still for a little bit? But other than that, it's a really, really good, strong cast. So yeah, I would recommend the Romeo and Juliet. Okay, I'm going to stop there now and talk about what this video is actually about. And that is my review of The Witness for the Prosecution and Other Short Stories by Agatha Christie. This is the tie-in cover for the BBC drama, which I absolutely hated. And now that I've read the story, I hate it even more, but I'll explain that shortly. So The Witness for the Prosecution is a story which revolves around a man. It's 1920s, and his name is Leonard Vole. Actually, Agatha never does declare specific years for these short stories when they take place. She'll mention like a date, like say June 12th or something like that, but she doesn't actually tell you what year. It's just 1920s, so it's kind of, you may be guess. But Leonard Vole has been arrested for the murder of Emily French, this older woman, very rich woman, who was found murdered in her home. He's been arrested for it, and it follows his lawyer kind of figuring out what he can do to help Leonard get free, his trial, and then a reveal of what happened to Emily. And there are other short stories, there's 12 other short stories in this. They range from things such as trying to figure out if a man had murdered his wife. Was it an accidental overdose of a drug, or was it deliberate? You know, that kind of thing. It's speculation. We've got a Poirot story right at the back as well, so we got to see Poirot. So I really liked it. I really did. But what I loved was what I learned from it, really. Agatha's stories are just phenomenal. straight off the bat. They are phenomenal. I've only ever read ones, though, where it's one story that's about, I don't know, 150 pages long. So I thought when it said Witness for the Prosecution and Other Stories, I didn't realise that this 350-page book had 13 stories in it. So I was like, when it said other stories, I thought maybe like 3 other stories or something. So then you've got like about 100 pages per story. No, that's not the case. There are 13 stories in this 350-page book. Witness for the Prosecution alone is only 30 pages long. I'll let that sink in for a minute. 30 pages. And with her, her amazing writing, I'd never read one of her short stories before, so I didn't know what to expect. And the things that she was a master of the use of words. I've talked about this before in other videos, and the videos that I've done with my sister as well, where we've talked about how she constructs sentences. She is very precise with the words that she uses. She tells you so much in as little words as possible. And this collection of short stories is a masterclass of how you write short stories. I absolutely adored the fact that some stories started mid-sentence, some stories started mid-conversation. You had there's things where you had full poison formulas, you had full timelines, you had situations where I was so blown away by one thing that she did. Near the end of Witness for the Prosecution, there is conversation. There's literally, Witness for the Prosecution is 2 conversations followed by trial, followed by conversation. And when that final conversation happens, she actually states these exact words of, the location was irrelevant. I loved that. We have got an author who has created an entire world for us. She's inviting you into that world, but then she goes, now you don't have to worry about location. You have to focus on the words and what is being said right now. For an author to do that is amazing. I've never come across an author who does that. And that, I was just like, wow, like the balls of the woman to do that was just phenomenal. I didn't know what I was going into, and I was like, damn, Agatha, you are good for doing that. I want to read you a bit from Witness for the Prosecution. I've gone and left my glasses upstairs, so we'll see how this goes. I'm sure it'll be fun. So this is one of the conversations that is going on. This is the second conversation. So we've seen Leonard, our lawyer, and Mr. Mayhern is his name. And now he's going to see Leonard's wife. So he's met her, literally just introduced himself to her, and they're having this conversation. He wants me to say that he came in at 9:20 that night. He did come in at that time, said Mr. Mayhern sharply. That's not the point, she said coldly. Will my saying so acquit him? Will they believe me? Mr. Mayhern was taken aback. She'd gone so quickly to the core of the matter. Well, that's what I want to know, she said. Will it be enough? Is there anyone else who could support my evidence? There was a suppressed eagerness in her manner that made him vaguely uneasy. So far, there is no one else, he said reluctantly. I see, said Romaine Vole. She sat for a minute or two perfectly still, a little smile playing over her lips. The lawyer's feeling of alarm grew stronger and stronger. Mrs. Vole, he began, I know what you must feel. Do you? She said. I wonder. In the circumstances, I intend to play a lone hand. He looked at her in dismay. But, my dear Mrs. Vole, you are overwrought, being so devoted to your husband. I beg your pardon. The sharpness of her voice made him start. He repeated in a hesitating manner, being so devoted to your husband. Romaine Vole nodded slowly, the same strange smile on her lips. Did he tell you that I was devoted to him? She asked softly. Ah, yes, I can see he did. How stupid men are. Stupid, stupid, stupid. She rose suddenly to her feet. All the intense emotion that the lawyer had been conscious of in the atmosphere was now concentrated in her tone. I hate him, I tell you. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. I would like to see him hanged by the neck till he was dead. The lawyer recalled before her, and smouldering passion in her eyes. She advanced a step nearer and continued vehemently. Perhaps I shall see it. Supposing that I tell you that he did not come that night at 9:20, but at 10:20. You say that he tells you that he knows nothing about the money coming to him. Supposedly, I tell you he knew all about it and counted on it and committed murder to get it. Supposing that I tell you that he admitted to me that night that when he came in, what he had done, that there was blood on his coat, what then? Supposing that I stand up in court and say all these things. Her eyes seemed to challenge him. With an effort, he concealed his growing dismay and endeavoured to speak in a rational tone. You cannot be asked to give evidence against your husband. He is not my husband. The words came out so quickly that he fancied he had misunderstood her. I beg your pardon? He is not my husband. The silence was so intense that you could have heard a pin drop. I was an actress in Vienna. My husband is alive but in a madhouse, so we could not marry. I'm glad now. She nodded defiantly. I should like you to tell me one thing, said Mr. Mayhem. He contrived to appear as cool and unemotional as ever. Why are you so bitter against Leonard Vole? She shook her head, smiling a little. Yes, you'd like to know, but I shall not tell you. I will keep my secret. Mr. Mayhem gave a dry little cough and rose. There seems no point in prolonging this interview, he remarked. You will hear from me again after I have communicated with my client. She came closer to him, looking into his eyes with her own wonderful dark ones. Tell me, she said, did you believe, honestly, that he was innocent when you came here today? I did, said Mr. Mayhem. You poor little man, she laughed. And I believe so still, finished the lawyer. Good evening, madam. He went out of the room, taking with him the memory of her startled face. This is going to be the devil of a business, said Mr. Mayhem to himself as he strode along the street. Extraordinary, the whole thing. An extraordinary woman, a very dangerous woman. Women were the devil when they got their knife into you. I love that. I love how she's not afraid to startle characters, startle the reader. She is not afraid to be bold and daring. She gives you very little detail about the way that people look, how they're styled and such. The important thing is the words and the actions. And as I said, like at the end of The Witness for the Prosecution, she actually writes, the location was irrelevant. For an author to do that, she has got such conviction on her story, on her words, that are more important in this short story structure than where they are. And I applaud Agatha for that. I really, really do. I was really taken aback by it. I've learned stuff from it, for constructions of short stories and such. It filled me with joy to read, even though we're talking about crimes and really horrible characters, but they're so complex and so intriguing, yet they're like 30 pages per story. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I was blown away from it. So would I read this again? Hell yes. Would I recommend this to anyone? Hell yes. Would I read more from the author? Well, of course, it's Agatha Christie. I mean, come on. I kind of feel like I'm going to, after this whole, coronavirus stuff is over, I think I'm going to have to invest more in Agatha Christie books, because I've got Murder on the Orient Express, this one, Ordeal by Innocence, and Then There Were None. So I've got four books, but this is a collection of short stories, obviously. But yeah, maybe I need to invest in more Agatha Christie and read some more of her works. But thank you, Agatha, for this gem of a collection of short stories. You are the queen of crime. You always have been, you always will be, and I love you for it. Now about the drama. As you know from what I've said in this video, obviously previously, and from the video that made my sister, it was called something like "Don't Mess with Agatha Christie" or something. Absolutely hated the drama of Witness for the Prosecution, and now that I've read it, I am like, why in the hell did they change so much stuff in it? And how can you make a 30-page short story into a 2-hour drama? How? It's as I said, 3 conversations and a trial. That is it. No wonder there were so many slow motion sequences that just meant that it filled in about 10-15 minutes of like 4 or 5 shots, and that was it. It was just painful. I mean, beautifully shot, don't get me wrong. The cinematography, the set design, lighting, costume was beautiful, but the actual substance of it was awful. And I feel I understand the characters so much more from reading the 30-page short story than watching that 2-hour drama. It kind of felt like, because it was that thing where the first And Then There Were None was this massive hit in the period between Christmas and New Year, which the BBC I don't think necessarily thought would be a hit. And right, we've got to get the next one, the next one, the next one, and so on. And they've carried on doing that. And as time has gone on, they've gotten worse and they've changed so much stuff. Witness for the Prosecution especially, it felt like it was just like a 2-hour filler for the BBC, and it was just wrong for me on so many levels. And now that I've read the book, I feel I hate it even more of what they did to Agatha's work. And they butchered Mr. Mahan, especially, and his relationship with his wife and such. His wife isn't even bloody mentioned in the story. You know, it just felt like they, now looking back on it, that they completely ripped apart the substance of this story. And I'm so sad about that. I've really not gone now. When there's like a new Agatha Christie drama, I'm like, no, not even going to go there, because I'm done with that. It may look beautiful, but it's got to have substance. And if you've ripped the substance of the book apart, not worth it. Not worth it at all. So yeah, so I'd say no go to the drama Witness for the Prosecution, especially after reading the story. But yeah, they're my thoughts on Witness for the Prosecution and Other Short Stories by Agatha Christie. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. You can leave me comments in the comments box below, or give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, entirely to you like you decide. And I'll be back with my next read, which I've got here by my side, which is Crime and Punishment. This is nearly 600 pages long, so this is not going to be with you guys for a review in 1 week. It'll be 2, I would have thought. Yeah, because I won't be able to read, with work and everything else on top. There's no way I'm going to be able to read 600 pages in a week. So I will be back in 2 weeks' time. I might give, like, next week, I might do a progress video. If you're interested in that, let me know. And I'll also talk about theatre and other stuff I've been watching, if you'd like me to do that. But yeah, it'll be a couple of weeks before I get the review of this one to you, but I'll get to it as soon as I can. All right then, guys, bye.